started. Welcome. My name is Fernando, if you don't know my name. And we'll be starting with a quick introduction of Unity. So just make sure you have Unity installed. This is Unity Hub. So Unity Hub. So just click on installs and just make sure something is installed. Unity version is installed. I'm using 2019 1.5. You can have the latest version, that's fine. Most of the Unities above 2015, or sorry, Unity 5 should be fine. Unity 5 has old physics engine, but this one has the new one and also has a new pipeline, so that's pretty neat. So let's get started with projects. So on the projects tab, once you have this, just click on new, and this little window should pop up. And then we're doing 2D today, so we're going to click on 2D, and then on the project name, we're just going to call this platforms. We're going to learn how to move platforms. So we're going to create, and then this little window should pop up. So just let it load and create the Unity window. Right now it's just importing all the good stuff and then making the whole window. I also put a link on the chat, so just click on that link. That link should take you to the drive, and then on that drive I have two files. They're C# files. Make sure you download them. I'm not going to. Well, I'm going to go over just a bit of what goes on in the player movement, but it's not the focus of this this project. Okay. So let's see. I downloaded mine. So the two files. Yeah, once you have them, it should be zipped. So you can just open them up. I'm using WinRAR, so what I'm gonna do is just right click here, click on Show in Explorer. So then I have because you can't for some reason WinRAR doesn't allow you to, or when you're unzipping stuff, you can't just drag and drop it down here. It runs into an error. So just double click on assets, and then here's your main folder. So just unzip this here under assets. Once you have that, then it should pop up here. So you have character controller and player movement. So if you see the character
Wait, so I have to go into files then, right?
I'm sorry?
It's not letting me open it. It's saying that I don't have an app related to.
No, don't double click it. You're not. I mean, it's Unity is installing Visual Studio, so that's Visual Studio is going to be able to open this. Don't worry about opening it up. Just drag and drop it in here. Oh, you mean the zip files?
Yeah, the one from the drive.
Windows 10 should come with a zip extractor. It's not a RAR, it's just a zip. If that's too much, just download each one individually, and it should download.
But it says that this file does not have an app associated with it for performing this action when I click on it.
Oh no! So are you downloading So how are you downloading this? Are you downloading like?
I mean, I just in the folder I just right clicked and push download.
Oh, okay. So then you should have something like this, a character controller.cs, something like that. Yeah, just click and drag it in just like that. If you because I downloaded at the same time, so I just highlight both of them and then download, and I got a zip. But if you're downloading each one individually, just like download, you can just click and drag it into Unity. Just click and drag it into there, and you get your script in here. So like if I right click here, download, and just click and drag it into, if you're using Google Chrome, you can just click and drag. Okay, you got that?
Yeah. Unity is almost done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so so this is your Unity window. Here on the left-hand side, we have the hierarchy. Basically, everything that belongs into your game is currently in your game, in your scene. It's going to be on the left-hand side. So the hierarchy does follow an order. It's called a parent game object and a child game object. It has a parent-child relation. What that means is wherever the parent goes, the child follows, but whatever the child does, the parent doesn't follow. We'll see that soon when we start working with the platform, that whenever the child moves or does something, it doesn't follow the parent, but whenever the parent moves, then the child will follow. So yeah, again, we'll see that more in depth when we start doing the platforms. Then we have our scene. Our scene is this canvas that we have in the middle. So to move into the canvas, I like using the middle mouse, clicking middle mouse, and then moving around. You can use right click and move around the scene. This is called panning. And then to zoom in and zoom out, if you have a mouse wheel, you can zoom in with your mouse wheel and zoom out. If not, then I think you can hold Alt and then right click and you can zoom in and zoom out. Yeah, if you hold Alt and right click, you can zoom in and zoom out. So that's your scene, and basically everything in your scene, in your game should appear here. This is kind of like your editor window. Right now, the only thing you have is your camera, and that's why the little icon of the camera is there. Just saying that the camera, and this is what the camera is currently seeing. The white line is what the camera is currently seeing. Then we have the next one. We have the game tab up here. The game tab right now, I'm just seeing blue because there's nothing in the game. It's just blank. Then on the right-hand side, we have our inspector. And basically, this is the properties of an object. So if I click on the main camera, and then I look on my right, these are all the properties of that object. So every object in the game has to have a transform. It always has to have a transform because it tells you where in the world it is in Unity. In your scene, and what is its position. So it's right here. You have position, rotation, and scale. Position just means where is it in XYZ space. Rotation, where is it facing, and then scale, how big the object is. Okay, and then here, this is another. These are all called components. This is a transform component, and this is a camera component. So right now we're looking at the main camera. Of course, the camera does have a camera component, and then these are all the options for the camera. The biggest thing you have to, biggest thing that changes the camera is this thing, projection. So there's two projections. The first one is called perspective, and the second one is called orthographic. Orthographic basically is how 2D games work, where everything in the scene just gets squished together in one kind of layer. Basically, everything that's in the background just gets squished in the screen. Perspective, it's more for 3D, where it gives you depth. So, like first-person shooters or 3D games that you move around and you have depth in your game. So yeah, so these two modes are. It depends on what kind of game you're making. It changes how the camera is looking, and then from there, everything else I'm not gonna go into depth because it's more for post processing. So if you want to throw like I don't want to say glamour shot, more like you want to use your own what is that called? That's materials. It's your own render. The render scripts. I forgot the name of them. They have a name. But if you want to use your own render scripts, then you can start moving around the camera options. But for now, we're just going to keep it blank. We're just going to keep it normal orthographic because we're doing something simple. Okay. And then finally down here, we have the project tab. And the project tab basically has all your raw assets. This includes your scripts, your 3D models, materials, colors, prefabs, and so on and so forth. Okay, so you have Unity ready?
Yeah, I think it said that it's installing it, and I think it's just bringing it together now.
Okay,
Like you can see
that's
it,
fine.
Right?
I think I can. Let me double check.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's still installing.
Yeah.
It's okay. It takes a while because this thing is pretty big. So we're gonna start with something very simple. We're gonna use these two scripts that I provided the link for. It's on the Google Drive, so make sure you download it and have them in your scene. So this one is a character controller. This one basically does, if you see on the right, it's telling you, it shows what the script is. So this is basically grabbing, or what's it called, using the Unity's rigid body and adding force to it. So wherever you press the button, that's where it's adding force. So basically it's going to do all the movement and calculations. And then player movement handles all player controls. So here the player controls, if you take a look, it says horizontal. Because this is an XY game, or it's just a 2D game, we're only moving on the horizontal with our left and right. For up and down, it gets controlled by jump. So we don't care about vertical. It's a 2D game, unless we're climbing stairs, but we're not. That's not part of the project today.
Okay.
So yeah, so here we're to crouch, we do left control, to crouch, but we don't care about crouch. I just put it in there just for future projects. But for now, the main thing we want is just horizontal. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna right click down here on the gray area, and here you get this little pop up. If you can't remember to do this, you can also click here where it says create on the project. This says create, so just click on that. And then from there, you get the same thing. I like pressing right click here because, when I'm working here, I can just quickly drop down my mouse, right click, and then click on create, or hover over create, and I click on hover over create. And in here, the one we want is sprites. So Unity already has this pre-made sprites. You can draw your own sprites. You can draw your own little things. But for now, we're just going to use basic shapes. So I'm going to use a square, and I'm just going to call this layer. Well, I shouldn't be calling it player, but that's fine for now. I'm just going to use this square object to work on the whole scene. So I'm just going to click and drag this outside. I'm going to make this a little longer, okay? And this is going to be my player. Okay, if you want this to be exact measurements, you can take a look at the right. And here I have my scale. It's 1, and then my y is 2.45. If you're really if you really want to be precise about this, you can do like 2.5, where it's your height is now 2.5.
Okay.
Yeah, and so this is my player, and I'm gonna drag another player out here, and I'm gonna stretch it on this side. And this is not gonna be my player. Instead, this is gonna be my platform. So up here, next to the check mark is where you can rename your object. If you don't want to rename your object there, you can also click on the left-hand side under your hierarchy, right-click, and then click on rename. And you can rename it to platform. Okay. So now, if I press play, nothing's going to happen because these two objects, if you take a look at the inspector, these two objects just have one component. It's called sprite render. So all they're doing is just showing up on the screen, and that's it. They're rendering a sprite, which is the box. Okay. Now, if you want these guys to have some sort of movement, one, you need to have physics and a collider enabled. So we'll start off with the platform. We're going to click on Add Component, and we're going to add a collider, a box collider. Okay. Box collider 2D. We're using 2D physics. So if you click on that, if you click on this, I don't know if you can see, but there's a small green line highlighting around the square. Basically, it's a collider for that box. In this one, we're going to do the same thing for our player. So we're going to add a box collider 2D, and we're going to add something called a rigid body 2D. Okay, so the box collider gives a physical boundary to the object, and then the rigid body 2D gives it physics. So now, if I put this a little bit higher and press play, the physics is going to take over, and the box falls, right? So now, depending on my box collider, let's just say if I click here on Edit Collider, and I make my box collider, let's just say that long, and I press play, now that physical, you see how your graphics don't matter. It's just the actual physical, box collider that matters. So just make sure you're careful with your box collider. Whenever you have some sort of collision that's not working, you always want to press pause in your game and then look at your scene and see if anything is colliding. if your colliders are going somewhere else. Okay, and then we're gonna click on add component, and what we're gonna add, or sorry, not add component, we're just gonna click and drag our character controller in here, and we're gonna add our player movement in here. Okay, so now we have these two scripts. Okay, so now these two scripts should be able to work. It does not work off the bat because you do need to configure some things. So what I like to do is check on air control. I like moving the player when I'm in the air. What is ground? Just gonna click on everything because I want everything that the character touches. It should be a floor, and we need a ground check and ceiling check. And so here's where the parent-child relation thing comes in. Here, I'm just going to right-click and create an empty. So it's an empty game object. And I'm going to call this game object floor. I'm going to right-click again and create empty. And make this object a ceiling. Okay. So now these two objects, you're not able to see them. I don't know if you see it. Well, they're technically here. It's a circle. It's a little circle. That's the game object. But I want to move this game object. So to move this game object, there's some tools. If you press Q, you get the magnifying glass. So these are all shortcuts. W is to move, E is to rotate, R is to scale, and T and Y are 2D controls. Y is actually an all-in-one. I don't like using Y because sometimes you get confused clicking the wrong button. So I just like using W, E, R. Those are your main tools. If you can't memorize that, then you can just go up here to the top left. You have the move tool, rotate tool, and scale tool. So you can just click on these ones. Again, I think it's easier just using the shortcuts. But okay, so you have this object. So what I'm moving now, it's the floor because I have the floor selected, and I can move this around, right? But now let's just say you unclick and you're like, oh no, where did it go? Because it's not there. What you can do is you can click on next to the check mark. There's a white box. Click on it, and then you can select an icon. So let's just say I want to click on the blue one. So now this blue little icon now represents my floor. So whenever it's wherever it is, I can just click on it and just drag it to wherever I want or move it. Same thing with the ceiling. I'm gonna blue, and then it's gonna be there. The whole purpose of this is basically saying where's the top of my my character and where's the bottom of my character. So the top I can put it here, and the bottom I can put it here. Okay, but now there's a problem. If I press, I'm going to go frame by frame. So I'm going to press pause and then play. I'm going to get an error. It says it hasn't been assigned. But then when I go frame by frame, see what happens. My ceiling and my floor do not follow my my character. Right? I want my ceiling and my floor to always follow my character. So to do that, what we need to do is we need to make them a child. So make them a child of player. So when I click these two, and we're going to click and drag them into player. Okay, so you drag them into player, and then these two now become children. So now when I go frame by frame again, I move, and then those things move with it. Okay, so wherever this player, and I can even move it here. So wherever I move, those two objects move with it because now they're children of that object. Okay, so now that is done. Now we're going to go back to player and then scroll down because we still have an error because we didn't define ground check and ceiling check. So all we're going to do is we're going to click and drag our ceiling check into ceiling, and then ground floor into ground. Okay, now when we press play, you should have the script enabled. So now it goes, we can move, and well, yeah, I tipped over. And then I fall.
Wait, are you moving it with your mouse or is it keys?
It's WASD or or AAD. AAD to
wait, is that default or is that?
It's default.
Key? Okay.
That's default. Yeah. So if you want to change your keys, you go to Edit, Project Settings, and then you should see this this box, and then just click on Input, and then click on Axes. And then here are all the shortcuts of Unity. By default, if you click on horizontal has left and right. So these are your left and right keys, the arrow keys, or A and D, which is the default for gaming, A and D being left and right. And then, vertical and so on and so forth. If you want to change them, you can. I like the defaults. Okay. Now, if you press play and then you notice when you move, you start tipping over because that's how physics works. To prevent this, you want no rotations on the x-axis. It's the z-axis, sorry. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna click on the player, go to the rigid body component, and all the way in the bottom, the second to last, there's one called constraints. Click on the arrow, and then you have the constraints there. You have freeze position or freeze rotations. And what we want to check off is freeze rotation. We don't want this character to rotate. So now when we press play, now I'm able to move the character, and the character doesn't tumble. And then I can press spacebar and I can jump. Okay. Now this looks a little what is that called? The jumping or the falling is too slow. I like it to go fast, so I'm just going to change the gravity scale. Instead of 1, I'm going to do 3. And yeah, so the falling is better. And then the jumping is pretty low now, so let me bring up the jumping. So if I scroll down here on the right-hand side, I have my character controller script, and then here it says jump force. Instead of 400, I'm going to bump it up to 600. And then my speed, instead of 40, I'm going to put 70. Now I have these two scripts. I have those two changed. So now I can jump, and I think that's a little better. I like my characters moving a little faster. Okay, so that's just basic control of this.
Yes.
Now the whole purpose why we have a character controller is because we're going to have a platform moving here, and we want the character to jump on that platform, and then that platform is going to move us. So to do that, I'm going to grab another square. This is why I shouldn't have named that player, but I'm just going to grab another square. Oh, one more thing. So we don't get confused what is what. I'm going to change colors of these things. And to change colors, you just click on the object, because these are very simple objects. They're white sprites. Just click on an object, and then on the right-hand side, you have color. Just click on color, and then this little wheel will pop up. And just change color. Here, I'm just going to make it a green color. And our character, I'm just going to make it a red color. And my platform is going to be like a blue color. Something like that. Okay, and I'm going to rename this platform. Now, so when we have this, you have to remember we always have to put physics in this, because if I just leave this, let's just say here, and I press play, and I try to jump on it, right? What's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen. That's just going to fall, because this only has a sprite render, right? So we need to have a box collider, 2D, and a rigid body. 2D. Now, with the rigid body, you do have to be careful, because the rigid body does have here, it has gravity on. So when I press play, it follows gravity and it starts to fall. And that's not what we want. What we want is we want it to stay still. So we're going to change this from dynamic to static, because we don't want this. We don't want the forces technically to move this. So I don't want to jump on this and something falls down. That's not the purpose of this. This already has its own movement going left and right. So now when I press play, it acts like this one, like the green one, but it ignores forces, right? So now I can be there, right? And nothing happens. So I'm going to change color. I don't like the blue color. Yellow color. Because the background is blue and then this thing is blue. Kind of confuses it. So yes, you have a question? Okay.
No.
So what we're going to do is we're going to make a movement. So what we want to do first, well, there's two ways of doing this: doing it through animation or doing it through script. Animation is way easier, but you're just limited to one animation per object. So you have to create an animation for every object you want it to move. That's good if you're limited, if you're not doing a lot of these platforms. But let's just say you're doing a lot of platforms, it's better to have a script, and then you have a variable position, so you can just move it wherever, and you can have cool move, not cool movement, but you have multiple movements. So to do that, we're gonna make a script. So make sure you click on platform. We're gonna, or sorry, the small platform. Maybe I should call it moving platform. And we're going to click here on add component, and we're going to write our first script. So we're going to call it platform movement. Okay. Make sure there's no space. Platform movement. Create a new script and then create an ad. Okay, once you have that, the way to open a script is if you click on here, this little gray box, you double click, you can open the script, or you can just look in here into the project folder and just double click on the player movement. Then Visual Studio should open, and yeah, this comes up. So do you have, are you up to speed with this? Are you, did you?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
yeah. I get it. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So the first thing we want to do is our platform has to move from point A to point B, right? And it has to move, back and forth, back and forth. So what we need to do is we need to define what is point A and what is point B. So we're going to require the player or the user to enter point A, point B. So we're going to ask for a public object. So that means on the editor, it's going to ask, hey, please insert this. Just like the ceiling and floor, we're going to require that. So here we're going to say public public transform. Sorry, transform. So public transform, and we're going to call this point A. Okay, and then the second one, public transform point B. Okay, so we have public transform point A and point B. So now we have these two defined, right? Or the user is going to define where point A is and where point B is. Okay, the next thing we need to define is how fast do you want our platform to move. It's going to be a public float, so it's a decimal number, and we're going to call it speed. Here, I'm just going to put 3.0 F for float. And then finally, we need a reference to where we're going to go. So basically our destination. So this one can be a private. So private vector3, because this is a position. And we're going to call this one destination. Okay. We have point A, point B. Oops, point A, point B. Our destination, where our current destination is, and then how fast we're traveling. Okay. When we start.
Unity just downloaded, so should I open it?
Yeah.
Oh, how do you open it? I mean, it says that add modules, show an explorer, or
let me see your screen. Hold on. Oh, just click on projects on the top left. And just click on new. Yeah, and then click on 2D. Yeah, and then change the Unity project. Yeah, and then call it something, platforms. And then click on create. I see your license is invalid. Okay, can you go back? Can you exit that? Yeah. Click on the settings, I think. License management. Yeah, and then activate a new license.
But you need to be logged in.
You log in. You can log in with your Google account.
Okay.
Yeah. You should probably stop sharing screen.
Oh. Nah, it's okay. I mean, you can't see my password, but I'm not worried.
Okay.
Okay, and then this.
Got it?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So now launch the project again. Click on new. Not add, new. Make sure it's 2D, platforms, and then create. And just let it create.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So, okay. So now, yeah. So to catch up, I'll just put this in a Google document, so you can just copy and paste this part. Yeah, I'm just going through the thought process of how to create this. So, so the next thing is, so we have our destination. Just let me know when the thing starts, so I can show you what to do quickly. So we have point A, point B, our destination. So when our object starts, or when our project starts, this function is going to be called start. This function gets called only once when the object becomes alive, and then it calls update. So update is basically the loop function that constantly gets called after start gets called. So on start, what we want to do is we want to set our destination to point A. So A is of course our first destination, and then point B, and so on and so forth. So then we have destination equals point A dot position. And then on our update, what we want to do is we want to change our destination depending on where we are. If we get to our destination, then we want to switch our destination to the other point, and then, vice versa when we get to the other one. So here we're going to say float distance is vector3 dot distance. So we're going to grab the distance between two vectors. And then what are we measuring? We're measuring my position, so transform that position. And we're comparing against destination. Okay, so these two are now being now it's grabbing the distance, and now we have a distance. Okay, if my distance is less than, let's just say 0.1 f. So 0.1, if my distance is 0.1, that means I'm really close to the object. That means now I can switch my my position. So now instead of going to whatever point I'm going to the opposite point. So here we need to add another if statement saying if my destination was vector, position, point A, position. So if my destination was point A, now my destination becomes point B. Okay. Else, that means my destination was point B, so now destination becomes point A. Okay. So again, we're just checking if the destination was A, then it becomes B. If not, then it becomes A. So then again, it's switching over and over. So now if my destination was not less than 0.1, that means I'm far away from that destination. So else, I want to start moving toward that destination. So here we're just gonna change our transform. We're gonna say transform dot position, and our position is going to be vector3 dot move towards. So it's a handy function for vector3. Basically, what happens is it grabs two positions, and then depending on what speed you put, that's how much where your position is currently moving, or where your next step is. It's kind of like linear interpretation, but this one's a little cleaner. Linear interpretation basically halves every one, doesn't have, depending on what speed you have, that's how how much it does. So then you have a very slow movement at the end, but this one move towards, it doesn't have that slow movement. It's a constant movement. So move towards is a little bit better. If you like slurp, you can use slurp. LERP, linear interpretation. So here on move towards,
Unity just downloaded.
It just downloaded.
It's open too, so
It's still opening.
No, it opened. It opened.
So you're ready. Okay. So let me just finish this line, and then we'll get to yours.
Okay.
Okay. So here we have vector3. Sorry, we have move towards, and it's requiring a vector3. What's my current position? And then vector3 my target, and then how fast am I moving? So my current position is transform that position. Where is my target? My target is destination. And how fast am I moving? I'm moving speed. Times time dot delta time. The reason why you do time dot delta time, because because this is running for each frame. If you run this out of control, this is just going to move very fast to its destination, and that's not what you want. You want this to slowly update depending on how much time has passed by per frame. So that's what time.delta time does. So now we press save and we go back to Unity. And then from here, we have to add the rest of the stuff. Okay. So let's go back to yours and let's see what you have. Okay, so on yours, just make sure you add your parts. So make sure you drag the two scripts we downloaded, or you downloaded. Remember? Yeah, just download those two scripts.
No, wait.
You have to download them. You
I already did. So.
You can just press Control J on your Google Chrome.
I have it open here, so. Do I just drag it like that?
It should technically work. Yeah. There you go.
Okay.
Okay. So now you have those two scripts. And create your first what is it called? Sprite. So right click there. Go to create. And go to sprites. You pass it, sprites. And square. Yeah, just call it square. It's fine. You click and drag it out there. And this is going to be your platform, so make it longer. Just something like that, yeah. And just bring it inside the scene. So you see that white line that's there? Yeah, it's good. Okay, and then bring another square and put it on top. No, just click the same one. Yeah, just click and drag it out. Yeah, it's not a prefab, so you don't worry about that. Yeah, and just make it taller. Something like that, so that can be your character, okay? And then to change color, remember, click on the object, and then on the right-hand side, you have your sprite render on your inspector, on the right-hand side.
Yeah, and then what do I do?
And then click on color. Yeah, and then change the color. There we go. Okay, and then make sure you add components to these objects. So remember to add box colliders and rigid bodies. So yeah, your character should have a box collider and rigid body. So you can just type in on the search, 3D. No, that's a 3D box collider. Remove that. So click on the little gear on the right, and then remove. And then add component again. Box collider 2D, good. And then add a box collider. A rigid body 2D. So scroll down.
Oh, I have to. Okay.
Yeah. Rigid body 2D. Okay. And then click and drag your scripts inside there.
Oh. So.
Yeah, those two. Just click and drag. Up. No, not in the object. So you see that? Okay. No. Click on your player. Yeah, and then click and drag your script. You see that gray line that's separating the components? You have to drag it in between there.
Gray line separating.
Yeah, just click on add component if it's too hard. Just click on add component. Scroll down. And then add character controller. The script. And then add another one. Player movement. Yeah. There you go. Okay. So, and then make sure your other one has a box collider. Your bottom thing. Yeah. It just has a sprite render. Box collider. 2D. Perfect. Press play.
Oh, it doesn't need the rigid body thing?
No, it doesn't need a rigid. But this one doesn't need, because it's a static object. It's not going to move.
Okay.
So just press play.
Yeah.
Your object should be able to move. Can you move it?
No.
Oh, you have an error. So on the bottom left, it's telling you that you're missing ground check. So stop playing. And then on your player, so you can rename your player and your platform. So remember how to do that?
Wait, the player? Rename it?
Yeah. So on the right-hand side, on the inspector, you can scroll all the way up. So click on us. Yeah, and then you see how it says square next to the check mark?
Yeah.
Change it to player, and then press enter. Yeah, there you go. And then click on the other one, just click platform. I think you messed yours up. Wait, click on player.
Oh, yeah,
they're opposites.
Yeah, because I did that one first. So.
Okay. And then, yeah, and then right click on your player, and then click on, on the left hand side on the hierarchy. On the left, that's right. That's right. Left, yes. No, right click on your player. You see where it says play? Yeah, right click. And we're going to create empty. And then right click again and create empty again on player.
Right. Okay.
On the player, yeah. Right click, create empty. Okay, and rename these objects as floor and ceiling. Make sure to press enter when you're done naming them. Okay, and then remember to change the icon of floor and ceiling and then put them in their correct place. So select the floor, and then you see the little square next to the check mark on the name on the inspector?
Check. Wait, where? Here?
You click on it and then change the icon.
Like the color, okay.
Yeah, any icon you want.
Okay.
That's fine. And then click on the ceiling and also click and change it. Okay. So now use your move tool, press W. And then move the floor. That's the ceiling.
Like that, right?
It has to be in the middle somewhere. Like, yeah, perfect. And the floor. Perfect. And now go to your player. Okay. And then scroll down. Yeah, okay. You see where it says ground check, it says none, ceiling check, it says none. Click and drag your ceiling into your ceiling check. And your ground into your floor into your ground check. Perfect. Okay. Now press play and you should be able to move.
Nope.
Press A and D.
Yeah.
Use your arrow keys.
Yeah, I tried both of them.
Click on the game and then press your arrow keys.
Oh.
So it doesn't move? Interesting.
Could it be like the parent thing, the parent-child thing, or no?
No, it should have worked off the bat. It's not giving you errors. Oh, I see. Stop playing. Yeah, one of your settings is turned off. Click on air control on the character on the right-hand side. On the right-hand side, on the inspector, scroll down. Yeah, your character controller. There's the check mark. It says air control, and then change what is ground to nothing, from nothing to everything.
Nothing to everything.
There you go. Now press play. Yeah, it wasn't detecting the floor. That's why you can't technically move. And then you were technically in the air, so you couldn't move. So now move. There you go.
Okay.
Okay, and then you can change the settings later.
Yeah.
Okay. So now let's add another cube right next to it, and this is going to be your platform. And then go back to Google Drive, and you can just grab the new the new script, platform movement. Just refresh it.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you can just click and drag it inside. Okay, and then click and drag it inside your the second platform.
Wait, that's your one.
Just click add component. It's too hard. Yeah, somewhere around. You see how it changed the mouse? Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So now you're up to speed. That's good. All right. So let me go back to my screen. Okay. So here we have. You can stop sharing now. That's good. Whenever you have a problem, just say, hey, can you check my screen and start sharing?
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So here I have my floor, my platform, and the other platform. So now this one has the platform movement script, but you see how it says point A and point B? It says none and none. That means it's not defined. We haven't defined where our platform is. So if we create more objects, so if I right click and then create empty, and then create another empty, so create two empties under this, I'll name the first one point A. And then I'll name the second one point B. Okay, so now we have our two objects. Okay, so I'm going to change their icon. So I'm going to click here and then change icon to a red one. This one also to a red one. Okay, I'm going to click this. I want my position A to start here and my position B to start here. Okay, so now we have our two positions. Now we need to define it. We click on the moving platform. We click and drag our A into A and point B into point B. Okay, and we're gonna leave the speed to 3. So now when we press play, something interesting is gonna happen. So I'm just gonna go. I'm just gonna press play, and then we'll see what happens. It moves, but it keeps on going. Why does it keep on going? So here I'm gonna press pause and go frame by frame. So let's take a look. Go frame by frame. See what's going on with point A and point B?
Yeah.
Point A and point B are moving with that object. So technically, this never never goes to its destination because destination keeps moving, right? So to change that, we actually have to unparent this, and then these three things have to be outside. So now when I press play, now that object stays there, and my platform is able to move from point A to point B, right?
Yeah.
But now, what happens if I want to make multiple copies of this? Then I'll just have, so many platforms A and B, platform A and B all around here, and it's going to get confusing. Whose is what? So to fix all this, we're just going to create an empty game object. So what I like doing is creating an object inside the square, the object. So here, just on moving platform, right click and then create empty, and then this object is centered on this object. So just click and drag it out. And then click all these three objects. So shift click moving platform A and B, and point A and point B. You click and drag it inside game object. So now this game object is now the parent of all these objects. So whenever I move it, all the children follow.
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna call this one parent platform.
Wait, but don't we want it to not do that because then the point A goes through?
Yeah, but take a look at this. The moving platform is in the same hierarchy as point A and point B. Okay, so now when I press play, it doesn't move with it because point A and point B are both in the same. They're all three of them are the child of parent platform. Okay. If the parent started to move randomly, then we would have a problem.
Okay.
So now, if you want to, spice it up, you can. You can make another one. You can just press Control D to duplicate. You can have another one, and then this platform, you can move A, let's just say down here, and B, up here, right? You press play. So now these two are moving, from point A and point B. So now I can jump on one, right, and jump on the other. Well, now I fell. Yeah. Okay, so yeah, that's that. I'm gonna delete the second one. I just want to stay with one. But there is a problem. If you press play, you get the game run, and then you jump on the platform. Notice what happens. Notice what. I fall down. But notice what happens if I, jump on it. Come on. See, my character just stays in,
Yeah.
stays in that position, and then while the platform moves. That shouldn't happen. When the platform moves, you should move with the platform, right? So we have to make the parent, make the character a child of the platform. So wherever the platform moves, that's where the object is going to follow. So to do this, we're going to go back to our script. So let's open up platform movement. So just double click on platform movement, and Visual Studio should launch. Okay, and then we have all this code. Okay.
Oh wait, it's saying that setup requires the computer to be restarted before Visual Studio can run.
Nice.
So I'll just do that real quick.
Yeah, sure. I'll put a pause here, I guess. So what we're gonna do is, so we have the update function, and so after the update function, so it's gonna be after like line 38. We're gonna make a new function. So here, the function we want is Ontriggerenter. So basically, whenever it detects something in its vicinity, or whenever it enters the object's collider, it's gonna do something. So here we're gonna type in void on trigger, so capital O, trigger enter 2D. If you have Visual Studio, it should autocomplete for you. So just click on the enter 2D option, and you should get all of this. You don't technically need the private, but it's a good idea having private there. And then you're required to get a collider. So make sure you have parentheses around this and have a collider, and then the collision. Here, it doesn't have to be called collision. You can call it whatever you want, but you need to just decide to call it collision. So knowing that, here in the collision, we're going to type in if the thing that hit me, so if collision dot game object name is equal to player. Okay, so if the thing that hit me's name is player, curly braces, and inside the if statement, what we want to do is we want to make that player a child of ours. So here we're going to say collision dot game object, collision dot game object dot the transform dot parent, sorry, set parent. Okay, so here we're grabbing the game object's collision, the collision's game object, and then we're grabbing the transform object. So basically, we can manipulate the hierarchy, and we're going to set the parent. The parent is now going to be transform dot position. So it's going to be me. So transform. Sorry, not transform. Just click transform. Transform. So basically, I'm talking from the point of view from the box, or from the box that's moving. So that box that's moving and now has a child called player. Okay, and then now we're gonna copy and paste these this whole function. So we're gonna copy this and then paste it down here. And instead of enter, we're not doing exit. So we're gonna erase enter and put exit instead. So it's gonna say on trigger exit 2D. And then here, the transform is no longer going to be, the parent is no longer going to be transformed. Now it's going to be null, okay? Null means nothing, so that means it's not going to have a parent anymore. Now it's going to go to the highest level of the hierarchy, so it's going to go all the way to the outside, which is what we want, okay? So let's press Control S to save. Let's go back to Unity.
Wait, can I see the code real quick again?
Yeah.
Okay, so wait, so in Collider 2D, I'm not sure if this matters, but mine doesn't show up as green, and the Ontriggerenter 2D shows up as yellow, kind of.
That's yellow?
Yeah.
I guess that's fine. As long as the code looks like this. I think your editor, or can I see your editor? Can you share your screen again?
I'll share the screen. Can you see it?
Nothing's popping up yet.
Now?
There. Oh, the problem that you have is you're forgetting curly braces. So after the parentheses on collision, so after, yeah. So you need open curly brace. So that's it, the letter next to P. Yeah. You erase the end because the end has to be at the end of this. Yeah. So after null, the null, after the parentheses of null, yeah, press enter. Yeah. And actually, you need one more because that's part of your if statement. Yeah, you need another one at the end. So again, on null, after null. Yeah, perfect. So now this is Ontriggerenter. So it's actually not null. It has to be transform that position. Sorry, just transform. So erase null and change it to transform. And then you need a semicolon after the parentheses. Good. Okay, so then just copy and paste from line 39. Yeah, to there. Too much. To line 44. Yeah, there you go. Perfect. Copy, and then paste it, and then change it from enter to exit.
Where?
On the function name. The function name. So you see how it says Ontriggerenter? You can say Ontriggerexit. Good. And then change from transform, change it to null. Perfect. Okay. Save it. And we're going to go back to mine.
And then for mine, I don't think that I got the, what's it called, the second platform to move correctly.
Okay, I'll check it out right now. Let's just do this part first, and then we'll see. So let's go back to Unity.
Oof, what is this?
Okay, so now we're gonna press. Oh, this is still not gonna work. Reason why? Because if you look at your square, you're looking for a trigger, right? Right now you don't have any triggers on your object because your collider, your box collider, is acting like a physical collider. So here, if you take a look, there's one option called is trigger, but we don't want to change this box collider into a trigger because then that's gonna, it's gonna remove the properties of being stand on. You can stand on it. So we're gonna add another component. So we're gonna add component, and we're gonna add another box collider 2D. Okay. So once you have that, notice how the box collider is still in the same place. We don't want that because we want the player to go into that zone. So we're gonna have to create like a hot zone. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna click on Edit Collider. There's a little box there. And we're gonna grab the top little notch. I don't know if you can see the little green square. Just click on it, click and drag it up like this. At the bottom square, it doesn't matter, but I like bringing it up just a bit like this. Okay, and then basically this is your hot zone. So whenever you reach this or whenever you enter this zone, then this will take effect, okay? So once you're done editing your collider, just unclick this, or click this again, sorry, and then click on is trigger. So click on is trigger. So now this is not a physical object anymore. Now this just becomes a zone. So now when you press play and you jump on that object, see, now this object lets you move with it. So it moves left and right with your other object. Okay, did you get that far?
Yeah, I don't know what I did. I kind of messed it. I don't know.
Okay, let me see your screen. I see your screen. Go back to, it says you have an error on your code. Yeah, double click on that error. You see where the red is, the red sign? Yeah, double click on one of them. Yeah, let's double click, let's see. Oh, you misspelled collision. You put collision. Yeah. You got an I after O. Okay, yeah. Same thing up here. There you go. Now save. You saved, right? There you go. Now press play, and now you should be able to see that.
Wait, and then this thing moved the assets. I don't know what that moved there.
Oh, to change it back, just click on the top right. You see where it says layout? Yeah, just click default. Let's just switch everything back.
And then, so now I gotta do the point A and point. I never did the point A and B point B for this, I think.
Okay. Make the screen bigger so you can see. Okay. So right click on your platform. No, yeah, just create empty. Do that again. And then rename the point A, point B. And then change the icon.
Oh, okay.
No, yeah. Okay, and then move your point A to point B to its position. So just press W. Yeah.
This. Okay.
You have both A and B selected. Yeah, there you go. Are you working with a mouse pad?
No, it's a mouse. Yeah.
Okay.
I kept pressing right click for some reason.
Okay. And then drag and drop your point A and point B.
And
Oh yeah, one more thing. Remember, you have to unparent them. So click on point A, point B, and then drag them out on the left-hand side, and then on your hierarchy. Click them. Click both of them. No, point A and point B. Yeah, and just drag them outside. Click and drag it out, or at the bottom. At the bottom. Yeah, right there. At the bottom. Yeah, there you go. So now they're not parented. And then create one big object. So just right click on platform again. Create a empty game object. Platform 2. No.
Oh.
Platform 2. Yeah. And then create empty. Okay, and then drag that one out too. Click and drag it out. And now grab all those 3 objects. So platform 2, point A, and point B. So shift select. No. Platform 2, not game object. Platform 2, B and A. Yeah, and then drag and drop into game object. Into game object. There, into game object.
Yeah. Which way?
Just get near the word, and it should turn.
Yeah, then. Okay. Oh my. Okay. Okay. And then is that it?
Yeah, just press play and see if it works. But did you drag and drop point A and point B?
Yeah.
Into your script? No, it says it's not assigned. Yeah, press play. Or stop playing. You have to stop playing.
Oh, I thought I could. Okay.
Yeah, press play again. That's what I mean. There you go. So just drag and drop your point A, and then drag and drop your point B, and it should work. Now your object should be. So now add a second box slider, because remember you need to add a box slider for the thing. And
change that too, right? I forgot to change that. The tilt thing.
Yeah, you need to stop playing though. Stop playing. You have whenever you do a change, you have to stop playing.
Yeah.
Go to rigid body and then go to constraints, and then Z. Okay, so click on your platform again, platform 2. Okay, scroll down and then add another box collider. And then add component. Yeah, box collider 2D. And then click on is trigger. And then click on edit collider. So the little box that's up there. Yeah, edit collider on the right hand. Yeah, little box. Yeah, click on it. And then drag the top node, drag it up a little. You see on the editor, on the scene? Click on it again.
And then this thing?
Yeah, yeah, that one. Click it up, drag it up. Up. That's fine. That's it. And that's good. Yep.
Wait, so why did we do that?
Because that's your kind of thing. That's your zone. So whenever you cross that zone, the code gets active. The trigger code gets activated.
And the trigger lets it so that's when the parent thing happens, right?
No, the trigger lets things go through. So it's kind of, you can imagine kind of like an infrared laser, right? The infrared laser doesn't stop you; it just lets you through, but it detects that something is in there.
Okay, and then that lets this stay on that,
right? What? Yeah, so that would stay in. Yeah.
Okay.
So now if you press play, your character should be able to stay on that object.
Yeah.
Okay. And yeah, so now if you want to create a different, like a second object, all you have to do is just click on parent platform. So I'm going to go back to my screen. Yeah, so all you have to do is click on parent platform, press Control D to duplicate, and you should have a second one, so you can now move it.
Okay.
Okay, and then here, just click on the little arrow to do the drop down, and then change it to point A and then point B, and yeah, now you have two objects that are moving in your scene, and you can have multiple of them. So let me just bad at my own game. And then I can jump on this one.
Yeah.
So there is going to be a small issue with the one that's going diagonal. Reason why, because our gravity, it's being controlled by a rigid body. Because our when a platform moves left and right, gravity doesn't get changed. But for this one, since it's moving diagonally, or if you were to move this up and down, gravity is going to take over, and you're going to get some bad, some bad movement. So let me show you this. Change it here. Yeah, there. So you see how it's like bouncing up and down, and it's pushing me left and right. So that's the rigid body that's trying to take over. There is a fix to this, but I'm not gonna go over it. That's the player movement stuff, and player movement will be in another video. But for this one, it's just the movement of platforms. So all we wanted is to move platforms, and that's what we have.
Okay.
And then from here, if you want to make your game longer, so for example, you want to make multiple platforms with other things, you can. You're not stuck to this just little part. So what you can do, the fun thing you can do is click on your camera and then make that camera a child of your player. So just click and drag your camera into your player, and then just center this guy to somewhere around here, and then just press play. So wherever your character is moving, that's where your camera is moving. So now you can click, and then your camera is moving.
Camera lock, right?
Sorry?
Camera lock, isn't that what I mean?
Yeah, but basically your camera is following your player wherever your player is going, because your camera became a child of your player.
How do you change that again?
What do you mean?
How do you make it follow your player?
Oh, okay. So the camera's out here, right? So all you do is you click on your camera, click and drag it into your player.
Oh, okay.
And then your camera, and then from there, your camera, I think it's around here. Just move your camera to be like somewhere in the center of your player. Or you can just do 0, 0 on your X and Y, so it can be fully centered. And then when you press play, your camera should be following you.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, actually that is it for the platform stuff. It's fairly straightforward. The platforms are, you just have to put the correct position to make the platforms move in the correct location. Now, the biggest thing you have to be careful with is your parenting. Just like I was just talking about, your parenting does matter. If you just leave everything outside, then it might not work. Another big thing you have to worry about is your global coordinates versus local coordinates. When you start doing parent-child stuff, if you want to move just a bit relative to your parent, you have to use local coordinates because you're under different kind of coordinates. Again, this is a topic for another video. But yeah, those are things you have to watch out for. Yeah, and then with this, you also have to be careful with your player movement because your player movement, the gravity, rigid body takes over. Since you're moving up and down with a transform, because this is dealing with transforms and this is dealing with a rigid body, those two don't mix well, so you have to kind of meet them in the middle, and you have to do the rest of the calculations. Again, this is a talk for another video when we are going to do player movement. Okay, so that's it. Do you have any questions about this?
No, not really.
Okay, and then you could also play around with other things. You don't have to, make it move. Here you can, continue with the trigger, and then once the trigger, sees that the player is there, you can activate the rigid body, so the box can fall down. So kind of like those mystery boxes, you step on it and it just falls down. So you have to like quickly go through the level. You can create save points, so whenever you step on this block, you can create a save point and things like that. So we're actually going to do something like that next Thursday. So if you want to join us next Thursday, we're going to add the two stuff we learned this week, and we're going to make it into a mini kind of a side scroller game with traps and stuff. Okay. Yeah, so that is it. Kumar, do you want to say something?
Yeah, for the player, how do you make the jump thing less? Oh, never mind. Is it the jump force, right?
Yeah, it's a jump force. So if you click on the player, and then here we have the jump force. You can change I changed my gravity to 3 to make our character fall faster, and then jump force it changes to 600.
So gravity, where's gravity?
Gravity scale. It's on the rigid body 2D.
Okay.
And then also you can also change your run speed if you want to walk a little faster. It should be on your player movement script.
Yeah.
Okay. All right then. So that's it. Thank you for joining us, and then we'll hopefully see you next time. All right. Awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
Bye.